So we're going to be talking about selective color editing, and there's two ways that we can do this. So we'll do both, and as always, I like to show you multiple ways to do the same thing so that you, as the photographer, can choose which one works best for you. So for this picture, what I'm going to be doing is focusing on the little green Grogu hat, and the first way that I'll show you is really easy. So if you open up your Basic Edit tab, and if you head down to the color mixer over here on the side, one way that you can create a selective colored picture with the rest black and white is decide what color you want to be in color. And then here in the color mixer, what I'm going to do is drop the saturation of every other color. There you go. So the color that I wanted to keep was green. But as you can see with this one, green, the way that light works is light is reflected and it's bounced around. And so green isn't only going to stay in the green hat area. Same with orange isn't only going to stay in the orange area, like his face or the little bodysuit. So I still have the green left over back here in the background. And if you look closely over here, I have some areas of my hat that actually have lost value where they should be green, because those other pixels right there, even though they had some green in them, had other colors as well that I decreased. So this works really well if you have very singular colors. So you have one item that is already brightly colored, nice crisp outlines with it. It's always a good way to start with your picture as well. So the second thing that we can do, I'm going to go ahead and double click all of these and put them back to 0. Okay. So you can see where I really started to lose some information with my green was over here in the ear where that was blending together. And I don't want that to happen. So the next thing that I can do is I can use the brush tool that we were using for the selective portrait editing. And I can kind of do the same thing that I did with the color mixer. I can grab my saturation and completely dump it, take it all out. And now I can adjust my brush size. And for this one, remember we talked about that feather, how that feather is that outside rim that blends. I don't want a blending of this. I want it to be a nice, sharp, crisp outline of just the colored Grogu hat and everything else in black and white. So I'm actually going to take my feather and drop it down as well to 0, so that I have just my adjustment brush I'm working with. So far I'm in my brush tool. My saturation is the only thing that I'm adjusting, so make sure that all your other settings over here are set to neutral, 0. Saturation is taken to -100. Feather is down to 0. Remember, I can use my bracket keys on my keyboard to change the size of my brush. And what I'm going to do first is I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to outline the hat so that I get a nice crisp outline. Remember, once you're zoomed in, you can use your spacebar tool to be the little grabber hand. So now I'm going to click and hold with one finger on my trackpad, and I am going to paint around the edges of my hat. And I don't know why it's not working. Is it working for you guys? Why is it not working for me? It's what? There we go. Okay, sorry, my mistake. Over here on the right-hand side, we're going to take flow and up it up to 100 as well. There we go. This is what I do. Why is this not working? Now I'm going to stay nice and tight along the edge. There you go. So it was over here. Feather is 0. Flow is 100. Density is 100. And my saturation is down to 0. And now everywhere that I paint, I am desaturating all of the color from my picture. So out here in the bigger spaces, you can zoom out and make your brush really big and just kind of go crazy. But what you really want to be careful with is zooming in and taking the time to work right along this edge so that you have a nice outline, a nice crisp edge to your colored area. Now some of those little nooks and crannies, my circle is too big to fit into, so I can use those bracket keys up by my backspace or my delete key. There we go. Use my space bar to move my picture around. I try not to work in one long brush stroke, so I try to lift my finger off my trackpad and kind of click my way through and around, because then if I accidentally do something that I want to remove, on my keyboard I can hit controls, or Control D, and it will take me back a step. So I can undo one step instead of having to delete the entire thing that I've already done. So here I'm just going through and giving my little hat an outline. It's kind of like when you paint a wall in a room, you have to trim all the edges. And then you can go through with the bigger roller brush and cover way more space much quicker. I make my way, and I've made my way all the way around. So now I can zoom out, grab a bigger brush, and start brushing over the rest of my picture. I'm still going to slow down and take some time around my outline. Sometimes it wants to struggle a little bit and not take colors away. What you can do with that is you can go ahead and hit enter on your keyboard. I've also noticed that when I use a larger brush, it has a hard time. So like there's a couple spots that have been left behind. You can make your brush smaller and go back over those areas. You could also hit enter or return on your keyboard and lock that adjustment in, and then go back over those spots again. And there you go. That is how you can edit your photograph so that you have selectively chosen one color. And it's pretty fun. See, before and after. So especially when we're talking about portraits and about really expressing that person's character and who they are and their personality, this could be a really great tool for a photographer to use to really add emphasis and highlight and make sure that the viewer looks at one specific part that might be a specific detail about that person, like a baby Grogu hat.